Welcome to another In Wheel Time podcast, a 30-minute mini version of the In Wheel Time car show that airs live every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. Central.
It's the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Coming up, it's the boys' show and tell.
Uh-oh.
And be careful what you show.
Uh-oh.
Conrad has This Week in Auto History.
And I won't tell.
And I'll get you caught up on the stories making car news this week. Howdy. Along with Mike out of this world, Mars, King Conrad DeLong. We always need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. Hey, thanks so much for joining us on this Saturday. Turns out to be, right now anyway, a beautiful day, 71 degrees and fair skies in the beautiful Sugar City.
Mm-hmm.
And
Of
probably
land.
in Katy, too.
Probably. Mm-hmm. There is, let's see, a 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms, mainly between 2 and 4. And then tonight, 40% chance.
Tomorrow's
mainly
locust.
Before midnight. And Sunday is supposed to be sunny with a high of 77. It's going to be magnificent tomorrow.
Magnifico.
So I'm going to get out there and wash the Corvette, and I'm going to go for a ride.
Cool.
I'm in the testing mode to making sure everything is just right.
Yeah.
Before I get on the road on the Hot Rod Tour.
Well, so a couple other minor things like the brake light.
Yes.
But that's about it. I mean, there's nothing
parking
else.
brake. Well, I mean, there's always something. Always.
But nothing detrimental. I mean,
No.
you're not going to have to
Not
rush to get.
No.
You got the TPMS all done or no? Or
Yep,
you just fix it straighter?
TPS. Oh, my gosh. So I put those new GM TPS monitors in there.
Yep.
Bam! There they are.
Somebody go around and honk your horn for you?
I did it.
Okay.
They did it there. It didn't work. You know, they always claim, oh, I've got this machine. But it does it right. No. You got to go through the steps on the Corvette. And I bought a round magnet
over there.
that cost me a fortune. Don't get anything close to it, by the way. It's powerful. It's a round magnet. So I can take the magnet and I put it right over the valve stem. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And the horn beeps.
And yes, I have to set it up through the computer. And it starts with the left front.
Through the driver information center.
Yep. And so we start there. It beeps the horn. Then it moves to the next one. You go around over there and you put the magnet on the valve stem and you do it to all four.
That's what was stuck to your plate in your head this morning, Mike. The magnet was there.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing how many things you can do inside that driver information
Let me
center.
tell you something. I have learned a lot about that driver information center. And there is an awful lot in there.
Lot of things you can do.
And so I printed out all of the codes because I can look and read the codes because it threw a code. I'm thinking, okay, I've got to go to somebody and have them read the code. No, I can find out about all of the codes right there in the driver information center. And there's certain steps that you go through. It starts with the options, and you hold the button down, and then it goes to read codes or something like that. And then it will automatically step through the codes. And then once it goes through all of them, then it stops at manual read. And then you just hit the next button, the options button, and you can stop there and you can write it down. And I had all of
Gives you a brief description of it.
Yes, but
Brief.
Very brief.
Yep.
And I had all of these codes on both of the doors. And I want to attribute it to the fact that the battery was unhooked
Which
and hooked
will
back up.
set up lots of codes.
And it screws up everything.
Yep.
Wow.
When you lose power to that computer, it goes nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you reattach it, clearly it throws all these codes.
Are you still using a trickle charge on it or no?
No, because
you got a new battery.
I got a new battery, and Richard at Apex Auto Works found out that there were some extra things that the lighting guy put on there that was draining the battery.
Oh, when you had your lights redone?
When I redid the lights, and I went and bought a new battery thinking it was that. Nope. And
when you did the LED headlights?
When I did the LED lights. And he put something into the fuse block underneath the pigtail this and do this and plug it in there, and it was pulling 24 volts.
Wow.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. And Richard said, all it would have taken is just a little, and that whole car would have caught fire. That'd be an awful.
I wonder what it was for.
I think that
the body control module. Go ahead.
I think that what it was is that he hooked it up so when you hit the bright lights, all of the lights would come on in the front. Well, and the only reason I've discovered this is because the way the car is set up, when you put on the bright lights, it turns off the regular lights, the low beams. It only does the high beams. Absolutely worthless. And so this bridge, this pigtail thing that he stuck up in the fuse block, I think it was to bring all the lights on, but it wasn't hooked up the right way. And it drained the battery.
Like last night when you were behind us, the car looked good because it was at night. You come rolling up next to us. It looked really good.
Well, the other thing is the body control module knows that when the headlights are on or the taillights are on, there should be so much current passing through to turn that bulb on. And an incandescent bulb, the old style bulb, draws a lot more current than an LED bulb does. So when you turn on the LEDs, the body control module goes, that's low voltage or low amperage, and something might be wrong, and it turns the check engine light on, or it sets a DC diagnostic trouble code. So that setup may have been to avoid that from happening.
Perhaps. But Richard said, hey, man, I tried the lights and they work just fine. I said, well, leave that other thing off of there.
Wow.
If I need high beams, then I'll just hold the thing on, the high beams on, because I don't need that all the time. I mean, I rarely use it. Now with this new LED lighting system that I got on there, you really don't need high beams.
Because the light is so much brighter.
Oh, yeah.
The light is brighter than the driver.
Absolutely.
That's right. And I did not have to, by the way, adjust the headlights after we put them in. Because the adjustment for the headlights doesn't have anything to do with where the beams are. If they were aligned from the factory, well, once they're mounted in the old style flip-up headlights, it's still the same. So the left one is a little bit lower than the right one.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So that you're not up in the eyes of oncoming traffic.
But it's very apparent now
with the white light,
with the LED lights, that they're square. The lights are square, so you can see the difference between the two beams. It's pretty interesting, actually. Mm-hmm. But the diagnostic codes, I was amazed. And I went online.
You said they're on the door?
And did a printout. I did a printout of all the diagnostic codes.
That are available?
That are on the car.
Oh, gosh, it's probably 150.
It's like 6 pages worth. It's seriously, it's 6 pages. And the doors have their own separate section. The doors.
Well, there's a lot going on in the doors.
I know that. It's the most complicated part of the car, actually. Because, when they put the doors together, they go off into a separate part of the assembly plant.
And come back in and plug and play.
And they're painted with the car, but they're not on the car.
Come on, baby, light my fire. It's the doors.
That. What were you going to say, Mars?
I was going to say that I changed the truck to the LEDs, and it made a big difference in it. And in fact, I'm going to change my wife's car because now I can sit in the driveway with the lights on the garage door and hers on, and it just, like you say, there's a huge difference. It's like, how can you see with this now, So I've got to get hers changed.
Well, the only reason that I put these lights on there was because I could not see at night. They were that bad. And these were factory headlights that are on there. I changed the bulbs with HID, and I did everything that I could do to save those glass lenses and that old style. Awful, just absolutely awful. And these new lights, they look great, and they work great too. And I did all of them. I did the side marker lights and the tail lights and the stop lights and all that stuff.
So before you go on the tour, you're going to get the oil change and all that stuff?
No, because the oil change happened in January, and I don't drive it enough. I mean, it doesn't have but maybe 1,500 miles on the oil.
Are you using Mobil 1 or Royal Purple, or what are you using?
Yeah, Mobil 1. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And everything seems to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Both very good oils. Royal Purple is actually a very good oil.
Is it?
Yeah, we've tested when I worked for BG. We tested it all the time. It's a very, very good oil. Mobil 1's a very good oil as well.
Yeah. Well, the factory asks that you use Mobil 1 on it. And I'm sure
it's the relationship between the Corvette racing program and Mobil 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
was part of the reason for that.
And Mobil, listen, that synthetic, it's expensive.
Yeah, it is.
And what's the difference between a full synthetic, and
regular oil?
Not regular, but it's a blend.
It's about $4. That's the difference.
Well, it's the difference in the molecular structure of the oil. So if you think about what I'll call dino oil, regular oil, the oil molecules are all different size. So it'd be like trying to roll something on a basketball, a softball, and a golf ball. So you're basically rolling on the basketball, and the other balls are just kind of dangling in there, not really doing anything. Mm-hmm. And then so the basketball will break down first, and then you get onto the softball, and then the softball will break down till you get down to the golf balls. Well, with synthetic oil, all of the oil molecules are relatively the same size.
How do they do that?
For lack of a better phrase, would be polishing them. So that
so it goes through a process.
It goes through a procedure that they select all similar size molecules of the oil. So now, and this is why synthetic oil lasts longer than conventional oil. So now all of that pressure, those two pieces of metal coming together, are riding on a greater number of molecules.
They do that with heat, don't they? They adjust it with heat.
So you don't break one down to get to the next one and then break the next one down. That's why conventional oil wears out faster and you have to replace it more
You
often.
actually did a spot on that. Last year, I think
I've
you did
done
a spot.
that before. Yeah. So,
well, at any rate, so I don't need that. And I did buy a Wix filter. It seems that, nobody will actually ever come out and say, oh, well, this is the best filter. Because I think more and more there are really good filters out there made by different companies if you buy the high-end one.
Yeah, there's a good, better, best choice of filters that are out there. Mobile One actually makes a filter as well.
Well, I did my research, if you will, and I found that it seems to be very popular among road racers, these Wix filters, and they're not cheap. I don't know what it was. They were like $15, one of them. One filter for the Corvette was $15.
Well, and
I could go out and buy a filter for it for like $5.
Yeah.
And the filter itself does more things than most people think. Most people think a filter, it's like the media that the oil passes through and how large the openings are so it catches more material. The other thing about the filter is it has to have a bypass system in it. So if the filtering media gets plugged up with stuff, schmutz, this bypass valve will open up and keep you lubricated, even though now it's with dirty oil. Mm-hmm. So it's that balance of the correct media that's going to last with heat and catch the smallest particle you can to how the bypass valve works in them.
To make sure you have oil, period.
To make sure you have oil at any given time.
Yep.
Richard commented on my clutch fluid, because it is a hydraulic system as opposed to the old type where it's just manual leverage.
Yeah.
And he said, man, did that stuff stink.
It's brake fluid is what it is.
Well, I know, but I've never known brake fluid to stink. Rear end fluid, yeah, I got that because it's in there for hundreds of thousands of miles.
Yeah, we've been around you before, Don.
Thank you. But I don't understand why it stunk so bad. Because we had a partial change when I had that clutch issue
before.
Yeah, a couple of years ago. But you couldn't bleed it. Now it's got a bleeder on it. Yeah. But you couldn't bleed it. So all you could do is just suck out from the reservoir and whatever else it would pull
put fresh in, and hopefully it all intermingles and works its way out.
But now I've noticed, I had the brakes flushed a year and a half ago, right? But it's almost black again.
Brake fluid does degrade over time because of heat.
But I don't drive the car
moisture.
that much. I would think that it would not be black this soon. Maybe I need to flush it again, huh?
Could be.
Well, you talk to certain manufacturers will tell you to flush it every 2 years. Some will say every 30,000 miles. GM says every 45,000 miles in their maintenance books. But, when you get to the European stuff, it's every 30,000 miles or 2 years, whichever comes first. And with AAA saying 15,000 miles a year, that's where that 2 years or 30,000 miles comes from. So changing the fluid, because the fluid does degrade over time. And if you waited long enough, your brake fluid would smell like your clutch fluid. And it's got kind of a fishy, foul odor to it.
Well, that new brake fluid, the new clutch fluid in there, boy, it's crystal clear. Mm-hmm. Going, yeah.
And it'll degrade over time and get darker and darker. And
yeah. Well, now I've got a way to bleed it.
Oh, well, and Corvettes are notoriously a nightmare. The C5, C6s are a nightmare to bleed because the slave cylinder is so deep inside the transaxle.
Why didn't they put a way to do that? I don't understand.
Because it would have cost General Motors $11 a car to do that times 25,000, 30,000 cars. It's a lot of money. You know, you got to remember.
So jack up the price by $50.
Mm-hmm. No, that's not the way it works. GM wants to make all the money they can on every car they sell. So if they can minimize putting features on the vehicle,
and they look at
they
a
make
price
more money.
And,
both of you are just such a Debbie Downer.
Thank you.
What Mars? What negative?
Say part of it is they look at the price point and say this is what we have to sell this car for, and so they got to get below that price because in their mind the marketing guys have said you can't sell it for $11 more. You've got to sell it for this price or less. That's marketing versus operations. I mean, that's always been a battle of
and
sales.
Those are the same marketing guys that said way back in the beginning on the Corvette that you could go 25,000 miles on an oil change.
Exactly.
Remember those marketing guys? Ugh. When they first went to Mobile One, they said you can go 25,000 miles on an oil change. They all should have been fired for stupidity.
Well, I'm thinking when Mike talks about the price point, what's going to sell it at, a lot of that has to do pricing a vehicle with the unions because you're paying high price unions.
Labor.
You're paying all the labor.
Well, that's your cost.
I was 18 years old making $38 an hour working in a factory.
What year was that?
76.
Wow. You were getting rich.
That's good money.
And because of the union, I had left, came to Texas, and like 3-4 months later, I get a reimbursement check from the union of like $1,500 because I was not employed there anymore. I was not part of the union, so they gave me some of the money back. But yeah, pricing has to do with the unions and what they're paying people. You've got overhead, the cost of doing business, like you say. But the $11, I think that should have been done.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And there's lots of things in cars that they should be doing that they don't.
10 cents here, 10 cents there.
It all adds up.
Yeah, this connection is only good to be disconnected and reconnected 100 times, but it should only be done 10 times. So we're going to buy a cheaper part for it. I mean, there's all kinds of weird
when you build 1 million vehicles, that 10 cents adds up quickly.
Exactly.
You don't build 1 million anymore. But the $38 an hour, like we said, was all part of your insurance. It wasn't like a
cash. That's your loaded rate.
Exactly.
Yeah, your insurance, your pay, your everything else.
It's everything across the board.
Taxes.
In a union. Yeah.
And then they have to project out what the recall expense is going to be for the vehicle.
I was just going to say.
They've blown that through the years.
Yeah, because they make such cheap parts in some parts of the car, and some cars in particular, that it winds up costing them a lot of money in the recalls.
Oh, yeah. Well, they project out the warranty expense for a vehicle, and they project it out based on components, so they know this engine we're expecting X amount of money in warranty expense, and then they amateurize that over how many units.
Acceptable losses.
Did you happen to see how much Mr. Tavares with Stellantis is making?
Mm-mm.
Nope.
How can you justify?
How much?
$25 million a year.
Oh, he's making more than Mary.
Yeah.
Well, the more the merrier.
No wonder.
I don't understand.
Useless.
How does a company justify paying a CEO, one human being, that kind of money?
And then do the math. If they only sell 1 million vehicles a year and Stellantis isn't selling 1 million vehicles a year, $25 of every vehicle goes towards his salary. If they sold 1 million vehicles a year.
Well, that's just simple math.
Right. So now you have to add all that up backwards the other direction about, well, there was a point where they spent $8,000 a year in anticipated litigation on a Chevrolet truck. And that number I remember because it was a conversation point. So times at that point they were making 1 million trucks. That's a lot of money, the projected litigation.
Just to pay the lawyers.
To
defend themselves.
Right.
That's all part of it. That's where you get your price of cars.
Correct.
Exactly. That is. And talking about the CEOs and justifying costs, I mean, you look
but they're
across
never
the
held.
board.
Yeah, they're never held accountable.
You're looking at
$25
$25 million for his salary. Now, what about his expenses? His assistants, his flights, his travel,
his private jets,
his company
everything
cars.
else, that goes into it.
Yeah.
You can just about double it, if not.
Where did we go wrong? How come we're not, CEOs of Stellantis or GM? How did that?
Well, you guys get free cars. Jeff and I don't.
Nothing is free.
There's no free car.
You get a car to drive.
Have you heard some of his reviews?
Yeah, especially the one today, Mars. I think you need to re-record that.
But it still
one.
wasn't free. You still had to do something,
But at that is also an expense to the auto manufacturers.
Oh, absolutely.
Is keeping those cars and driving them out to Nederland to give you one to drive.
Absolutely. It is. That is part of their expense.
But they get advertising that they can't buy.
Which is here.
It's different pockets.
Well, they can buy it if they want to buy time on our show.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but it's a different deal. It's editorial.
Mm-hmm.
It's not advertising. So.
That's why the review can kind of sound like it does. If there's
something
wait just
you don't
a minute.
Like, you speak for yourself, sir.
If there's something you
that
don't
review
like,
this morning,
like the way the phone fits up into the charger that you can't reach it.
Mrs. Benz, Mercedes husband, wife, whatever you are, pay no attention to that review that Mr. Mars did earlier today. And if you're interested in listening, be sure to Google our first hour of this show.
He was putting letters and words this morning that don't exist. Wars.
Well, I was trying to get it all in so quick. I mean, there was just so much I wanted to say.
To 8 minutes long.
Well, and I was just a lot to say.
Could have been a lot longer.
That's right.
Except we were doing the Jeopardy music in the background.
This hour is brought to you by Mercedes and Michael.
All right. Time now for This Week in Auto History.
Oh, yeah.
Conrad has turned the page and he's ready to go. And he pre-read it, and he's not going to make one mistake in this.
In 1905, the first aerial ferry for cars was put in operation over the ship channel from Lake Avenue in Duluth, Minnesota to Minnesota Point in Minnesota. And this literally was to allow the shipping to pass underneath. So you could be on that little bridge as it went up, the ship would go underneath, the bridge would come back down, and you'd drive off.
Oh.
Kind of an odd way to do it. Today, they've had drawbridges for years, but you were never allowed to be on it. Well,
I'd want to
go down to Bolivar and take the ferry just to take the ferry.
I want to spit off that bridge.
And then in 1910, the Los Angeles Motordrome, the first speedway with a board track. So this was 5,200 feet long. So it was a mile long, and it was all 2x4 wood, and it had up to a 50-degree banking.
Wow!
And they said
50 degrees.
A driver could do 100 miles an hour and just take their hands off the wheel, and the banking would keep
centrifugal force,
keep them safe in there.
Wow.
And this was built after the idea of the velodromes for the bicycle tracks in Europe.
Yeah, that's cool too.
Yeah, I thought, how odd was that? It was a mile in diameter, all made out of wood.
Well, the bicycles don't have brakes.
Right. And then Sig Heyerdahl drove the Wisconsin Special over 180 miles an hour in a one-way run at Daytona Beach. And then in
that car?
No, that's the Buick Y Job. From Harley Earl. That was kind of the first concept car by General Motors. And it made its press debut this week in 1940.
There's Harley sitting on top of the car.
Don't scratch it. Don't scratch it.
And then he actually drove that as a daily driver in and around the Detroit area. Do you remember that, Jeff?
No.
In 1940, 1945?
No, that was... no.
And then in 1950, Harley Earl was involved in the Futurama buses. I think there were 18 or 19 of those that drove around the country, and there was a car show built into them, and they'd all kind of wheel up. And I think, wasn't it Dave Kindig
Bitch and Rise
redid one of these a few years back.
Took him 2 years to build that.
That's This Week in Auto History.
That's it?
Well, you whined at him about being long, and now you're going to whine at me about being short. You are just hard to please.
You get a lot of whining for being short.
Okay, well, that's fine with me.
Yes,
you just sit there and pout, okay?
Yes.
So some of the stories making Automotive News headlines this week. Survey. 29% of customers charged above MSRP told GFK, a research company, that they would never buy that brand of vehicle again.
Oh, wow.
About 1/3 of customers paid more than sticker price for a new vehicle in December of 2022. Sales, which GfK research indicates might cost the retailer or manufacturer repeat business from some of those customers, as I have said from the very beginning.
Corvette customers especially.
27% of customers who paid more than sticker told GfK they would never buy that brand of vehicle again. Julie Kennard, GfK Senior Vice President of Consulting, noted on a GfK webinar March 16th, while automakers have no control over dealership pricing, brands are still being negatively impacted. 31% of buyers charged above sticker told GfK they'd advise other consumers to avoid the dealership, and 29% plan to never use that retailer for service.
Yeah, because that's all driven by the dealer, not by the manufacturer.
I understand.
MSRP stands for what? Manufacturer's suggested retail price.
I understand that.
The dealer can sell it for any price above or below that. You don't hear them. You don't hear them happy about paying $8,000 under sticker. No, they complain when they pay $8,000 over sticker.
Well, and you're not going to get that money back. It's just lost.
Right.
Because the car is not worth more than that.
No.
Correct.
Credit unions beat out rivals for auto financing market share during the fourth quarter of 2022, and dealership finance and insurance offices should expect them to remain strong competitors this year. Dawit Kabidi.
Who?
Dawit Kabidi, senior economist at the Credit Union National Association, said credit unions achieved 21% growth in auto loans last year.
Very good.
Lower credit union interest rates can make it more difficult for F&I departments and dealerships to profit from a vehicle financing. For example, none of the dealership's partner leaders might be able to beat a credit union's rate, or doing so would require the dealership to forgo its reserve margin.
Profit.
Yep. So there you have it. Okay. Used vehicle retail giant CarMax on Tuesday reported a steep downturn in net income and fewer retail used vehicle sales, but stable per-vehicle profit, of course, in its fourth fiscal quarter, a period hampered by prolonged economic headwinds. It retailed almost 170,000 used vehicles in the quarter.
That's a lot of iron.
Down 13% from the year earlier period. Okay.
Yep.
Well, that is it for this segment of the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Time now for a quick break. We'll be right back. In Wheel Time Car Talk Show on iHeart Radio. Stay with us.
Everyone at the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, thank you for participating in the best cruise in around, and look forward to seeing you again. You'll hear about the next cruise in date right here on In Wheel Time. Next time you're in the West Houston Energy Corridor area, be sure and stop in at the original Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex at I-10 and Highway 6, or the Katy location on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard. When passing through Beaumont or College Station, stop in and have Lupi's award-winning beef fajitas and frozen margaritas. There's always a celebration at Lupi Tortilla. Lupi Tortilla founder Stan Holt and his wife Sheila are winning racers on the NHRA drag racing circuit and have a collection of hot rods and classics that everyone appreciates. Look for them at the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In. The date will be announced soon and will once again be held at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex on 99 and Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 and Katy. We'll give you all the details right here on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show and online. Donations benefit God's Garage. We'll see you then.
Mecum Auctions, the world's largest collector car auction company, returns to Houston, April 13th through 15th at NRG Center. Featuring 2,000 muscle cars, Corvettes, exotics, customs, and more. Broadcast live on Motor Trend TV and Motor Trend Plus. From avid collectors to those new to the Mecum experience, we welcome everyone. Register to bid now at mecum.com.
You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. That's it for this podcast episode of the In Wheel Time Car Show. I'm Don Armstrong, inviting you to join us for our live show every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. Central on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and our InWheelTime.com website. Podcasts are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeart Podcast, Podcast Addict, TuneIn, Pandora, and Amazon Music. Keep listening, and we'll see you soon.